Hello everyone, I'm in the Peak District National Park. It's Baltically cold, but it is stunning, so you kind of ignore that. This area is called White Peak. Now what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be walking from Parsley Hay railway station all the way down to Hartington on the London and North Western Railways Ashbourne and Buxton line. There's a few remains along the way, including a beautiful signal box and a viaduct at the end at Hartington. Need to stop meeting like this, and then by the fifth time it's just awkward. Here we go. These are the walks you can do. So this is the Cromford and High Peak Railway. We've done a little bit of that before, this bit here from Middleton Top down to High Peak Junction. We did that before on a previous video, and you can actually walk the entirety of this line as well that we're going to be doing some of today, all the way to Ashbourne. What we're doing today, we're going to go from Parsley Hay right here. We're going to go past that junction with the Cromford and High Peak Railway, and we're going to walk here to Hartington. So as soon as you leave the station, like I say, no remains unfortunately, but you hit this bridge straight away. There you go, and there's a little kind of plaque there to show the railway. And what I'll do is I'll get down underneath and have a little look underneath there. Here we go, let's have a little walk down. These are hella slippery, so I'm gonna make sure I don't stack it. Just to get underneath this bridge, just to have a look at the stonework there. That's beautiful. Look at that. You've got the engineering brick as well there. Look at that. Beautiful. I hope I haven't just blinded you with the sun. It is absolutely stunning around here, but it is so cold. So the bit I'm walking on now, from Parsley Hay, just there, all the way to that junction with the Cromford and High Peak Railway, this section was actually built in 1833 as part of that Cromford and High Peak Railway. Then what happened was, the London and North Western Railway bought this line. They bought the Cromford and High Peak, and they wanted to connect it down to Ashbourne, where the North Staffordshire Railway had a terminus. And so in 1899, that's exactly what they did. There's a junction in a second that goes off straight through the hill, which is actually quite kind of an incredible thing to see, really. Bosh, straight through the hill, and it followed the line of the valley all the way down into Ashbourne. We're just going to walk a section of that today. What a beautiful day to be walking though. We're on quite a big embankment already, but look at the landscapes. Honestly, unbelievable. So you've got Buxton up in that direction, you're heading up towards Manchester, Liverpool in the northwest, and then down this way obviously you're heading down towards Ashbourne, towards Derby, and eventually obviously the south. Just through those trees there in the distance, there's something called Arbour Low, which is one of the oldest stone circles around, ancient monuments around. So we're going to have a look at that on another video. So this section, which is about to veer off and continue on the Cromford and High Peak Railway, it's now called the High Peak Trail. It's a beautiful walk. That was built in 1833, and it's actually one of the original railways ever built. It closed in the mid-60s, as like most of these lines did, of course. But it was actually built to connect two canals, because what they wanted to do is they wanted to build a canal that went over the Peak District to connect the factories and the workhouses of the northwest with the coalfields of Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire. But obviously because of the hills, you just simply could not do that with a canal, so they had to build a railway in between. And there it goes. That's off. You can follow that now, where that geezer is on the bike. You can follow that all the way to Cromford, all the way to the canal, all the way to the end of the line. And actually, if you go north, you can get a few miles north up towards Whaley Bridge as well. So actually, most of that is open for people to walk and for people to cycle, which is great. But we're not going to follow that bit today. We're going to follow this spur off and through that huge hole there in the hill. Okay, so we're in that cutting now. I was hoping it might provide some shelter, but it actually turns out there's just a wind tunnel, to be honest. But this line was built in 1899, which is a real latecomer, especially when you think the one we've just left, the Cromford and High Peak, that was built in 1833. There's obviously a huge gap between those. How you doing, mate? Blinding, isn't it? Nothing. But yeah, So when they started building this in about 1897, 1898, like I say, it was a latecomer, and so a lot of the main railway companies had already really, you know, imposed themselves, and a lot of the main lines had already kind of really built their sort of, you know, their structure up. So this was coming in late, which kind of gave it a bit of an advantage in the fact that they'd learnt from the mistakes of earlier railway builders. But obviously it's a disadvantage in the fact that those lines are already established, do you know what I mean? There was already lines going into Buxton. In fact, there were 2 lines at that point already going into Buxton, and already one going into Ashbourne. The sun is telling me I probably should have done this walk the other way around and walked from Hartington to Parsley Hay. But if I turn you around that way, you can see, look at that rock. Solid rock. It's got a weird smell to it actually, which obviously you can't get at home. Haven't quite developed the scratch and sniff vibe with YouTube yet, but it does kind of smell. It smells like you're underground. It smells like you're in a cave actually. Here we go, there's another bridge. Again, they've got that engineering brick for the arch, and then this beautiful stonework. And then we're out into the sun again. Oh man, I wish I had some sunglasses, but I seem to either lose or break every pair of sunglasses I've ever had. So we did that North Staffordshire Railway walk through Alton, the cursed walk. Well, just before Denston, where we started that walk, there was a junction. I was saying Rochester, but it was corrected that it's actually pronounced like Roaster. But the junction came off from there, and there was a little branch line that went into Ashbourne, and there was a terminus. And then when the London North Western Railway wanted to build this into Ashbourne, they had a conversation with the North Staffordshire Railway, and they agreed that they would basically then join forces, and they built a joint station in Ashbourne, a really beautiful station actually, which is obviously long gone. And they ran that as a joint line with the idea that you could get from Buxton all the way to Ashbourne on the London North Western Railway, and then you can continue on the tracks of the North Staffordshire Railway, and you basically go all the way down through into Uttoxeter and down and eventually into London. But they only ever ran 1 train a day that actually did that, and the 5 trains a day that went from Ashbourne to Buxton on this line, and the 5 trains a day that went from Ashbourne to Uttoxeter on that line, were basically ran as separate trains, essentially, because most of the traffic was going from Buxton to Ashbourne or from Ashbourne to Uttoxeter. It wasn't actually going through. So this whole kind of joint railway venture sort of fell on its backside, and so the whole thing closed to passengers in 1954, which is pretty early. Soldiered on for freight, and actually this, what we're walking on now, it's known as the Tissington Trail, was actually one of, if not the first, repurposed railway lines that was turned into a walkway, a countryside walkway and cycleway, in 1968. There we go, you can see some remains there. I'm just going to jump up on it just so you can see the sheer size of that embankment there. Look at that. That is cray cray. But there is some kind of railway infrastructure there. Let's have a look. Nowadays you can pretty much walk, I was going to say most, probably not most, but a large percentage of the old disused railway lines, if they haven't been built on, they've pretty much been opened up, and most of that happened in the late 70s and the 80s, and they're still doing it now obviously. But this one in 1968, like I say, was one of the first, and I guess one of the reasons is you're not going to build on it because, I mean, look where we are, do you know what I mean? I mean, it's stunning, but I don't think even the biggest capitalist is going to want to get away with building an Asda here, really. But I guess it also means that there's a bit of infrastructure remaining, because stuff's not been allowed to rot, because actually they've been preserving it as a walkway for all that time. Right, so let me turn you around, and actually, having said that, that's exactly what they're doing. So obviously this is original, but that roof is not. So the fact that they're even re-roofing that is great. To be used as what? I don't know. I'm not even sure what that was used as at the time, when this was a railway. And we're pretty high up now, look. That wind is probably brutal, I apologise for that. Look at that little lake there as well, little farmhouses. Crofts, I think they call them in Scotland, don't they? Little small holdings and stuff, it's amazing. Over those hills there, to be honest, by the time you get over those 2 sets of hills, you'd be in Staffordshire anyway, I would imagine. We're pretty close to the border here. And there you go again, you can see just the depth of that. how much engineering would have had to have gone into to build something like that. It never fails to amaze me, you know, like when you look at that infrastructure, like that huge embankment, and you got all the bridges, you got viaducts and tunnels and all sorts on this line. Opening in 1899 and closing completely to everything in 1963. I mean, it's no life, is it? 64 years. Given the amount of effort and time and blood, sweat and tears and money and everything that went into building this, and lives as well, because, you know, navvies' lives they weren't worth much, were they, if we're brutally honest, back then. And so many people would have given their lives to build this incredible infrastructure. And then, you know, 64 years, bosh, it's gone. I mean, it's nice to be able to walk. I mean, look at the countryside, do you know what I mean? It's incredible, but I don't know. It's kind of feel for the people that built it, really. Coming up to another bridge. If you look around, you can see the landscape is scarred quite a lot all over. And anyone that watched our last video, we went down, obviously, those lead mines, and we had a look at the Bonsall Lees lead mines. This whole area was lead mines as well, and a lot of it is uncharted, so all the best, mate. Do you know what I mean, if you go off the beaten track? But the fact that there were lead mines all over here is actually something that's connected to this line, and something that we'll talk about when we get to Hartington. You know, when people are cold and they say, oh, can't feel my ears, or I can't feel my hands, I wish I couldn't feel my ears. They're burning, it's freezing. Honestly, that hurts, that does. Just holding me here. Thank God I got gloves on. And I wouldn't even have them if my wife didn't buy them for me and stick them in my bag. Sad, isn't it? Look at that. So there's a milepost there. Hey sheepies, how you doing? Look at that. 1 mile. So I don't know if that means we're 1 mile out of Parsley Hay that way, or we're 1 mile out of Hartington that way. But actually, given that it's a 2 mile gap, I suppose it don't really matter, does it? So coming through another one, real sharp bend, look at that. Because this was actually built, it was a single track line, but it was built to accommodate 2 lines because they thought that actually traffic would expand on the line, but unfortunately it never did. So all the infrastructure, like the bridges and the tunnel down at Ashbourne, they were all built to accommodate double track, but it just never happened. So you just had a single line coming down here, and then you had passing loops at all of the stations along here. But that is a sharp curve, isn't it? You think, because obviously, you know, these trains are going like the clappers, bang. And yeah, hang on for dear life. So when people go to like heritage lines now and they go on steam trains, the steam trains go dead slow, don't they? And most of the reason is the fact that they're quite short lines, most of these heritage lines. So it's like if they went the actual speed they used to go, do you know what I mean? Your trip would be over in 5 minutes. So they kind of saunter along. So most people's idea of steam trains is that kind of like, you know, just kind of a leisurely trip. But actually, back in the day, they moved. You see some of the footage even now of like mainline steam trains. If you go on YouTube and put in like mainline steam trains, those things move. So coming around a curve like this at that, you know, at some crazy speed, that'd be fun. Coming out of the cutting, see the plane there. I don't know if you can just see behind it. Look, the moon's out. Little crescent, tiny thing. You can hardly see it. The sky is beautifully clear though. Not like the last time when we were out in Bonsall doing that explore. Sky was just, wow, it was like someone was playing noughts and crosses in it. So we're not far now outside of Hartington station. Now you can just see there's another cutting there, another big explosion of rock. In the trees there, I can just make it out with the naked eye, but I'm not sure if you will be able to. But there's Hartington signal box. That's the only remains of that station. Now the station didn't do great in terms of passenger traffic, and it won't come as much of a surprise because you can't even see Hartington village. It's all the way down that winding road there, and it's about 2 miles. In the distance, those peaks there, that's part of Dovedale. That's Staffordshire there. The River Dove basically works as a border between Derbyshire and Staffordshire. Now there's certain maps that I rely on pretty much, old maps, and on those maps, the ones that I use, this line shows up as under construction in nearly all of the ones that I use, because there's lots of different ones, but in nearly all the ones I use, it shows up as under construction. Now we're going to go through this cutting, and then we'll come to something called Hand Dale Viaduct. Now that was constructed, along with the rest of this line, between 1897 and 1898, ready obviously to be opened in 1899. But when they were laying the foundations for this viaduct that we're about to come to, they made a bit of a gruesome discovery. It crashed through into an old lead mine, which is, you know, that wouldn't be a surprise, and I doubt that was a rare occurrence around here, to be honest, because there's lead mines everywhere. But what they found was a bucket load of skeletons. So a bunch of lead miners had been trapped inside a lead mine because there'd been a roof collapse. And so obviously they, you know, starved to death in this cavern, in the pitch black. I mean, you can't even imagine. And so as they were building this viaduct that we're about to come to, and they were digging the foundations, it crashed through and it unearthed that cavern, which is horrible, just horrible. But that's what people used to have to do. You know what I mean? Digging away for lead just to make ends meet. It's pretty gruesome, and there was no health and safety back then. Let's not forget. So we're about to come onto that viaduct now. See where that lady is on the bike, just going over it. But look up there. That's Hartington Quarry, which shows up on all those old maps. And oh mate, I found it. Right, we'll come to that in a second. So a bit of excitement there. Basically, like I was saying, when I was looking on old maps for this line, it's all under construction. It shows itself as under construction. But it showed a lime kiln, and I can see it right there by the side of the road. Can you just make it out there? There's a lime kiln. So I will have a walk down anyway. So we'll walk over the viaduct, we'll have a look at this signal box, and obviously that's unfortunately all that remains of the station, but then I'll come down because there were some old sidings that went down to that lime kiln. But here's the viaduct. Beautiful stonework, as usual. It's Victorian, isn't it? Look at these huge coping stones, massive things, massive. And again, you can tell by the width of this is a double track line that it was built for, but obviously they never managed to expand it because it simply just didn't have the traffic. We're coming in now to Hartington station. Look at that signal box, original signal box, and that's what most of the London North Western Railway signal boxes look like. They look exactly like that. They were built to a certain design. Now you might be thinking, same with Parsley Hay, why is there no remains of platforms or anything? Well, actually, on this line, every single station was built with timber platforms and timber railway buildings, station buildings. So, you know, they're long gone. But thankfully, we've got this here remaining. I think it used to be a cafe. It doesn't look like it's a cafe now, but it used to be. Beautiful, beautiful building. Look at that. That's great, and there's the sign there, look, Hartington. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk on through. Now I'm hoping on this here, there's a picture of what it used to look like, and if it's taken from the angle that this is at, that would be an absolute winner. And it is, pretty much, look at that. So there's the signal box with the original sign, Hartington, look. And as you can see, that's wooden station buildings and wooden platforms, so they've rotted away, unfortunately. That picture there, that's on opening day. That's when they opened this station. I can find a better version of that because that's obviously all weathered. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to walk around here because there were sidings that went off here. So I'm actually going to have a little look at them and follow them down to that lime kiln, and then we'll have a look at the underside of that viaduct. There we go. Look, there's another railway building there. Let's have a look here. Oh, I wonder if you can get inside it. It's preserved beautifully, look. Let's see if someone sat down having a wee. Nah, look at this. So there's a fireplace there. So I guess this is where the workers just come and chill out then and have a cup of tea or whatever, or a bovril on a cold day, because I mean it's cold today, but it can get seriously cold up these parts. So these were sidings down here. So I'm going to follow them and go and have a look at this lime kiln and have a look at the underside of the viaduct. Go look at that. That's beautifully preserved, isn't it? Beautifully preserved. Amazing. Okay, so there's the road access down there. That's how people will get up to the station. Line went off there into the quarry, which I'm not sure you can get down there. So what I'll do is I'll follow the road down then. You can tell from, you know, the drone footage, and not even the drone footage, just the footage of me walking about on this walk, just how remote these areas are. These are tiny places. I mean, Hartington station's 2 miles from Hartington, but even Hartington's a tiny place. Parsley Hay, I'm not even sure that is a place, to be honest. About 3 houses, I think. But there were obviously reasons for building the line. One, to get from Ashbourne to Buxton. Obviously that's 2 big places, but also there was a lot of traffic for a bit in terms of milk traffic and also quarry traffic. So this is a limestone quarry, of which there's a lot around here, hence the lime kilns. But obviously once that ceased, or at least, you know, stopped being so prolific, you know, that's the death knell for these lines, unfortunately. What I'm going to do, I'm going to look at the viaduct first, and I'll end on the lime kiln, because I don't want to end on a tragic story of miners being killed. It's like, you know, I'd rather end on something nicer than that. So there you go, Dale End Viaduct. Look at that, absolutely stunning. Again, you know, like I was saying, the effort that went in, I'll wait for that car to go, the effort that went in to building things like this, just to survive for 64 years as a railway. I guess it survives now, doesn't it? Of course it does. I've just walked on top of it, and now I'm walking under it. But look at that. Look at all those bricks. How many bricks? Lose count. Amazing. But yeah, like I said, when they built the foundations and they dug down for the foundation, there's lead workings underneath here, and unfortunately that cost the lives of quite a few men, I think. So here we go. Here's a little lime kiln, only small, but it showed up on that old map. If you look in there, so there's the limestone quarry just the other side of that. Oh, just step back onto a main road, but there you go. In terms of the age of these things, I mean, you're looking at hundreds of years. You can tell the age difference between that and the age difference between that and the viaduct. Oh, amazing. Another frozen pond, just to show how cold it is. Freezing. So there you go. Just a short walk on the Tissington Trail, which is a walkway now, but was formerly the Ashbourne and Buxton line, part of the London and North Western Railway. Hope you enjoyed that. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.